The word leitmotif is defined as a short recurring musical phrase associated with a particular person, place, or idea. While with various uses across music history, in soundtracks, leitmotifs can be used to accompany the presentation of a character, a relationship dynamic, and pretty much anything really. One of the main characteristics of leitmotifs is their versatility, that is, how they reappear throughout the soundtrack in variations. Those variations can represent the change or difference in the character or situation since the last time the leitmotif appeared. When doing so, a leitmotif may be recognized through the use of the same melody, harmony, rhythm, or any combination of the three. If that's all clear, let's jump onto the Spy Family soundtrack. Composed by Makoto Miyazaki and Shuhei Mutsuki, the officially released soundtrack includes 66 tracks that are heard throughout the currently 25 episodes of the anime. By the way, there will be some spoilers for the anime, since I will talk about scenes where certain tracks play, so proceed with caution. Taking into account what I said before about leitmotifs, here I'm only using the themes that appear in variations through the score. As of episode 25 of the anime, I have identified 7 different leitmotifs. With a bit of liberty, I've named them as follows: the STRIX theme, Anya, the Thorn Princess, Your, the family theme, Damian, and Becky. For the sake of simplicity, all sheet music I show here will be using the G clef and the notes within its range, as well as the most simple time signatures I can assign to each passage. Those may not reflect what was actually written in the composer's score, but since I don't have that score to analyze, I'm using a representation that's easy to understand and read, especially for people who don't know that much about music theory. Now, let's take a look at the aforementioned leitmotifs. The STRIX theme consists of a short ostinato, aka repeated musical pattern, and 2 melodies. Its most iconic version is in the track called, of course, STRIX. This track has only been used 3 times in the anime so far, and not in full. It's not uncommon for film and TV show soundtracks to have a quote-unquote clean version of their main theme that is only used for their official release and not in the film or show itself. Here, the main theme sounds epic and pompous, played by well-tuned instruments that mix nicely with the orchestra. In the show, the most common appearance of the leitmotif is from the track Wise. Again, the instruments are fine-tuned and mix well with each other. While still serious, the theme is not as pompous as in STRIX. Instead, it complements the sneaky nature of the spy job. A very different iteration of the leitmotif is in the track Plan B. This one sounds like an attempt at copying the glory of STRIX, though here the main and loudest instrument is an almost obnoxious recorder. The different orchestration symbolizes Anya's efforts to follow in her papa's steps. Wise represents an experienced and seasoned spy, while Plan B represents a little girl who dreams of becoming a spy like him, and probably has a very hopeful image of what the job actually consists of. Hence the slightly off-tune recorder. The track Crisis of My Home, per the title, has an even more chaotic version of the leitmotif. This one includes only melody B, omitting the ostinato and melody A. The recorder from Plan B is back with a vengeance, going even more off tune. This one isn't always connected to Anya. It's mostly used for when chaos happens, and most of the time that chaos is attributed to Anya. Sometimes it's Frankie. Finally, the official soundtrack includes the track Commence, which was used in trailers for the first season of the anime. In typical trailer music fashion, it's intense and epic and exciting. Anya's leitmotif has the most appearances in the soundtrack of all the leitmotifs mentioned here. It appears in overall 6 tracks. The most common of those is Girl's Pastime, where the leitmotif is in top center. It's obviously used to accentuate Anya's innocent and playful nature as a child. The next track is Subject 007 and it has a very different tone to it. The leitmotif is only heard on the soundtrack version of the track and not in any scene from the show. The beginning of this track plays in the first episode when Anya remembers how cruel her life in the lab was. The leitmotif we originally heard in a much more playful version now plays over a mechanical accompaniment through the characteristically sad timbre of the oboe. It's sad, cold and distant, just like Anya's life as a test subject. The next appearance is in the track Guard Dog in episode 13. In the episode version, it only has a short heroic appearance as Anya gains confidence that she and Bond will save the day. A cheerful and light-hearted variation is heard in the track Pita Pat, when Anya interviews Lloyd about his job as a psychiatrist. And quickly loses focus on her project. Another whimsical variation is heard in the same episode from the track Woolly. Finally, the leitmotif appears in the insert song Good Day, which played during Anya and Becky's shopping trip. With the Thorn Princess's leitmotif, the music makes a clear distinction between Yor and the Thorn Princess, as this leitmotif is not used to represent Yor. Yor has her own theme, which I'll talk about in the next section. This leitmotif is presented with ominous high notes on the piano in the beginning of the namesake track. The Thorn Princess arrives to the place her target is at and begins her massacre. In a similar vein, only this time played 2 octaves lower, it reappears in the track Delusion. We hear it in episode 5 when Yor imagines she'll have to kill the father of an imaginary Eden College applicant so that Anya can take his place. This track also includes the music from the Yor vs Lloyd fight later in the episode. Here, the leitmotif is sung by a choir over an ostinato. The choir even does a small descending glissando as Yor passes out and the Thorn Princess goes back to hiding. A shorter and much more heroic iteration of the leitmotif appears in the track Calling On, in the end of episode 13 and start of episode 14, when Yor saves Anya from the terrorists. This is the first time we hear the leitmotif when it's just Yor. The reference to it and the heroic music surrounding it pertain to how her assassin skills can come useful even when she's not in assassin mode, considering Anya's tendency to run off and into trouble. A new variation plays in the track Mother's Cooking in episode 16, this time with a misleading role. Lloyd notices her somber look and the cuts on her hands, and we're led to think that those have to do with her job. Since we later see that the cuts were from her efforts to learn to cook and her somber look was from being discouraged by all her failures, we understand that the leitmotif appears there as a comical red herring. Or just an exaggeration of just how deadly her cooking is. This show does love its overdramatic music. Finally, another short iteration of the leitmotif plays in the insert song called Breeze from the anime exclusive part Mama Becomes the Wind in episode 19. Once again, here Yor is not being the Thorn Princess, so it's merely a reference to her using the physical skills she acquired for this job in her everyday life. Yor's theme came as a surprise of a leitmotif. It first appears in the track as a mother, as a wife, that seems to be connected mostly to Yor's role in a family, either the one she was born in or the one she fake married into. You can hear that it's a much more different musical theme than the Thorn Princess's one. This one represents her soft and caring side. The entire season goes by with no clear variation on her theme, until episode 24, where it appears in the most heartwarming way possible, Yor herself singing a lullaby with the same melody.
銀色の明かりのもとお眠りなさい私のかわいいおじさまお眠りなさい
Hearing that lullaby is enough for Nocta Twilight to remember his own mother singing that song to him when he was a kid. The leitmotif then continues in a quiet piano piece as he shares with Yor the few happy memories he has left of his mother. I don't think I need to say what its use here is. The meaning is clear enough and the music does a great job encapsulating that feeling. It's also an interesting detail that they took a melody from the soundtrack and turned it into diegetic music. That is, they put it into the show's world as an existing piece of music that the characters can hear. One that's traditional enough that both Twilight and Yor know from their childhoods. Narratively, it also shows how two people from different nations can share pieces of culture and that no matter our differences, we're still all humans. That doesn't have anything to do with leitmotifs, but it's a message that we always need to remember. The family theme first appears near the end of episode 1. After toying with Twilight's transmission device, Anya gets kidnapped by the bad guys. Twilight rescues her and gives her a chance to escape from this mission and the dangers it imposes. However, Anya decides to stay with him and Twilight decides to keep her. There is two parts to this motif. The first one plays as Anya runs to hug him. The second one plays as Twilight remembers the previous names Anya had from the families that didn't keep her.
Anya Williams, Anya Levski, Anya Roche.
He doesn't finish that list with Anya Forger, but the music does the job for him. Those two are part of a family now. When Yor joins them, the leitmotif includes her as well, solidifying her place in the family with a new track called Small Daily Life. In episode 9, a new variation appears with the track Little by Little, and it does something interesting for Yuri. Watch this.
素敵な兄弟だなと思って、ずっと二人で支え合ってきたんですね。ゆりくん、今まで夜さんを守ってくれてありがとう。いろいろと大変なこともあったでしょう。これからは僕も精一杯彼女を支えるので、二人で一緒に夜さんを幸せにしましょう。誰が貴様の手など借りるか!
The first part plays as Floyd offers him a place within the family, though with a ton of secrets hidden underneath, But Yuri is still not accepting the possibility of his sister making her own family, so he declines and the leitmotif cuts off. This might not be that important. There is a lot that goes into soundtracks for serial TV shows, but it may be important, so I'm pointing it out. Now, I'm very close to calling this the Forger family motif in particular, especially considering how it's included in the track called, of all things, The Forgers. But seeing how it also plays in a few scenes that show the bond between Yor and her brother, I'm inclined to simply call it the family theme, for now. Though again, this one is just the first part, while The Forgers includes only the second part. It might mean a lot, or it might mean nothing. As I said, soundtracks for TV shows are a complicated story. Aside from The Forgers, where the motif appears more lively to fit the respective scene, it's mostly used in soft, touching ways, emphasizing the small family moments and how those bring comfort to the characters. Finally, notice how the second part sounds like a variation of the STRIX theme. It uses the same dotted and offbeat rhythm, ascending and then descending melody, and even the first two intervals are the same. Interesting, considering how this family was created as part of the mission. Damian's leitmotif was way sneakier, to the point where I'm not exactly sure if it is a leitmotif in the first place. But the two variations bear a big enough similarity that I decided to include it, even if I'm slightly uncertain if it fits the bill. In any case, we first hear it in the track Cecil Hall, as Damian, along with his classmates, has a tour of the school on his first day. Notice how it sounds. It's in major scale, majestic, perfect for how ready Damian is to show off as the son of the head of an important political party. He's the king of the class and the center of attention. It then reappears in the next episode. It has switched to minor scale, and now there's a bass drum instead of a tambourine, indicating the change from a light-hearted to a more serious tone, since now Damian is not only dealing with the fact that this new girl just punched and ridiculed him, but also with his conflicting emotions about her. It's much shorter, but it's an interesting addition nevertheless. And then a very, very subtle iteration of it from the appropriately titled track Second Son. Time signature, scale and orchestration have changed. It went from 4/4 to 3/4, from C major to B minor, aka dropped one semitone and switched to minor, and instead of strings and tambourine, it's now played by the sad oboe with pizzicato strings and woodwinds in the accompaniment. The distinction is clear. Damian is no longer the king of the class. He's the second son, who has to live up to his big brother's high accomplishments in order to receive just a bit of attention from his father. Of course, that doesn't excuse the way he bullies Anya, but the narrative gives him depth and a chance for growth, and the music emphasizes that. Becky's leitmotif first appears in the track Precocious in episode 7, when Becky meets Anya at the entrance of the school. It's in 3/4 and the leitmotif is played by a mandolin, giving the song a whimsical and light tone, paired with Becky's light-hearted and positive attitude. Its variation appears in episode 24 in the track Ship. This time it's softer and more emotional. Time signature has changed to 6/8, and now the leitmotif is played by the string section. It accompanies a sweet bonding moment between friends, as we then get a flashback showing how Becky developed from a pompous bully to a more humble friend, thanks to Anya's influence. Now, after all that's said and done, you'll ask, where is the leitmotif for the main character, Twilight? And I'll answer, he does not have any leitmotifs I could pick up. There is a melody that played in a character-defining scene from the track Without Tears. But its only reappearance in the entire season was in its original form, not in a variation, in episode 21. So this melody doesn't really fit the bill. Yet. There's a lot of manga chapters to be animated in the future, so I wouldn't rule out the reappearance of this theme at some point. Aside from this one, there are no clear musical themes associated with Twilight, and I find that super interesting. Twilight doesn't have a leitmotif because he is a spy with no identity. We don't know who Twilight is. We only know he wants to maintain the peace and what motivates him for that. And the lack of a distinct melody adds to that secrecy. Plus, I think it would kind of spoil the fun for those of us who like to seek out the moments where his true self comes bursting out. If they wrote different leitmotifs for Twilight, Lloyd, and the real man behind both masks, like they do with Yor and the Thorn Princess, the use of them would be like a clear sign of who he's pretending to be in each moment. Takuya Eguchi, his Japanese voice actor, does a great job using slightly different voice timbres for each role, and he should.
ロバートという仮面も今夜限り、盗聴器なし、逃走経路も確保可能。ここに決めます。今日からお前はうちの子になるが、周りの人たちには元々の親子だってことにする。俺たちみたいな人種は他人にいらん情を抱くなって、いつ爆弾が降ってくるともしれない夜でも、母がそばにいるだけで安心して眠れた。
Twilight may be the protagonist, he may be an actual genius, but he's not an omniscient narrator. The music is. And while Twilight as a character makes the distinction between his masks clear, the music allows for a more open-ended interpretation. Again, there's more of the story to be animated in the future, so I'm curious to see what we'll see next in that regard. Now for some bonus! Bondman's theme. In the iconic 5th episode, Lloyd is coerced into doing a bunch of stunts and go through fellow spies acting as enemies in order to save Princess Anya, a game she invented, inspired by her favorite cartoon, Spy Wars. As Lloydman performs these stunts, an insert song called TBD plays, which is basically a rock cover of the Bondman main theme, another diegetic song. This doesn't actually qualify as a leitmotif, it's just a cover of an in-world theme song to accompany Lloyd's very reluctant stunt as his daughter's favorite fictional character. I'm just including it because it's really amusing. And that's it for the first season of the anime. With an original movie and a second season announced for this fall, I am excited to see how the existing leitmotifs will be used and what new ones we may get. Hopefully, we will be given enough new content in this matter so I can make another video analyzing that when the time comes. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I put a lot of work into this video, so I'd love to see what people think about my analysis. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.